Alright, you think your job's bad? Woo! Get ready for this list. To be clear, there are a lot of really tough jobs out there that need really brave people to do them. So today we are celebrating those people by talking about jobs you may not have known existed that are really awful. It's all about perspective. Anyways guys, welcome back to the Hive. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host Raechel Fisher, and get ready for our list of top 10 worst jobs that you won't believe are real. Number 10. Watching paint dry. Do you remember that thing that camp counselors used to do in the whole camp? If they were like acting crazy, they'd get you to sit down all together and like watch the paint dry. And if somebody like little Timmy spoke out, then you'd have to restart. Anybody else do that? Just me? Okay. Fun. Anyways, so imagine my surprise to learn that something that was used as a mild punishment is the actual job of a man named Keith Jackson. Jackson lived in the UK and his job was literally to watch paint dry. He worked for a paint manufacturer and had to determine how well the paint was drying. So according to Jackson, it actually had some pretty high stakes, and I quote, "Watching paint dry sounds quite easy, but it can be stressful at times." Unquote. The more you know. Number 9, a crime scene cleaner. Of course someone has to do this. It is definitely a job I believe exists. Though I never really thought of it existing, I just thought they would just clean it up. But anyways, it definitely exists because we would know if someone had died in the house we were about to buy because it would still be a mess. But imagine the things you would see and how awful that would be. How do you even get a job like that? I do know that there are a lot of crime enthusiasts on this site, so I googled it. Turns out there is a job application, so you can just apply. It is for a company called Aftermath Services in Vancouver, and it's a $500 sign-on bonus. Guess they're really looking for workers. Whatever brave souls are out there, we thank you for your service. Also, here's a perk. Considering the nature of this work, it definitely sounds like it's recession-proof. Number 8, Roadkill Collector. Speaking of a crime scene cleaner, next up we have a Roadkill Collector. Yeah, this might be news for some of you who thought the squirrel you hit just like melted into the pavement after a few days of cars going over it. But no, this job actually exists and it's not ideal. The task is sometimes grueling because often the poor little babies are, well, in the middle of the road. So they have to run out and scrape and scoop the critter out of there, all while like avoiding all the cars coming at them, otherwise trying to make them roadkill as well. On top of that, considering the conditions in which they perished, the stench and scenery is enough to churn even a sewer rat's stomach, so. Number 7, a telemarketer. I know, we all know these exist, but like, I actually don't think anybody actually thinks about a telemarketer as an actual job. They're always the people that call you right as you're about to sit down for dinner being like, "Do you want to buy this toy spork?" And you're like, "No, I don't want to do that." I've seen people toy with them, I've seen people hang up the phone right away, like if you pick up the phone and no one is there right away, like hang up. If someone says, "Hi, I'm calling on that," like you just hang up. They get told no in so many creative ways. It's almost like a special skill to be able to receive that much rejection consecutively. Wow, it's like being an actor. But many people depend on this job as their living and experience verbal abuse from many customers. Having to endure that kind of negativity all day, every day would be pretty hard to handle. So maybe we can be a little kinder. On top of that, they get paid most of the time on score-based systems, so they can't really take no for an answer until they've given it their best shot. So like, just be as polite as possible, but I get it, it's super annoying. Number 6, snake researcher. It shouldn't be a surprise to you that of course we are going to bring up Mike Rowe, the dirty job man of the hour. I like snakes. I feel like there are two kinds of people. The people who are like afraid of snakes but not spiders, and the people who are afraid of spiders but not snakes. You know what I mean? I'm the latter. So when I saw this job, I didn't think it would be awful at all. But it's nowhere near what you think. Mike Rowe says this is one of the grossest jobs he's ever done because, and I quote, "To properly study the feeding habits of water snakes in Michigan, snake researchers pull large snakes from Lake Erie, squeeze them until they puke, then analyze their vomit to see what they've been eating." It's as disgusting as it sounds, but on the day in question, to add to the excitement, I was bitten no less than 36 times. Annoying, bloody, and very dirty. Unquote. Mike Rowe. Oh, we salute you. Number 5, an animal inseminator.
We basically collect the semen off them, we freeze it, we chill it, and we send that semen globally. Rather than having to take the stallion to the mare, you can ship it around anywhere.
Okay, so this exists. Though this guy seems to be absolutely like loving his job, which is great. People who do this for a living are essential for breeding purposes, though it is definitely not for everybody. Without going into too much detail, I'm going to try to describe this job as creatively as possible. In many ways, this job requires the employee to act as both lover and stork for certain animals such as cows and horses. The reason it exists is for the convenience of better breeding because they don't have to travel a breed or wait for them to mate. So instead, they position themselves to catch their mini selves and then they manually inject them into mares, like cows for example, and horses. So not a very romantic process, but then again, whatever gets the job done, I suppose. But the grossest part, even if you can't get your head around the other bit, oftentimes the animal reacts to the injection of the baby juice by pooping really close to the inseminator's face. So like, definitely not for the faint of heart. Number 4, shark suit tester. This list is basically partially in honor of every dirty job Micro has ever done. So he's gonna be featured again. Why putting a synthetic body within a chainmail suit wouldn't be a viable option for testing this? Apparently it isn't. There are not many jobs Micro found difficult to muster courage for, but this job remains in his top 5 jobs he wouldn't do again. According to Roe, quote, "The only way to see if a stainless steel shark suit works is to put one on and jump feet first into a full-on feeding frenzy, to be bitten by a variety of hungry sharks and shook like a tug toy for 60 feet below the surface. I did this job for Shark Week against my better judgment, but lived to tell the tale. Not dirty, but straight up terrifying. I won't be doing it again, ever." Unquote. Like, Micro, if you ever watch the show Dirty Jobs, Micro has gone through a lot. Like, he went and checked out a bunch of different jobs, and he doesn't even have to do each one for the rest of his life. He just tried a bunch of different ones. Great show, but if like that scared him, it sounds terrifying. That's not a job I would like to do. Number 3, pet food taster. Ice cream taster, amazing. Chip flavor taster, yes please. Sommelier, sign me up. But did you know there was such a thing as a pet food taster? Good to know that at least the flavor profile is human approved for your pupper, but imagine tasting that for a living. Also, it is pet food, so it could be dog food, but it could also be like bird seed or bunny pellets. However, it does take a very highly skilled person to do it, as it's a combination of research and taste. They have the job of evaluating a pet's nutritional value in their food and are tasked with finding ways they can improve that. But eventually, they do have to sample it, put it on a little bib. Yum. They evaluate the scent, as it has to do with both human senses. After all, you don't want the house stinking like fish or dog food. And as well, and most importantly, for the pet. Thankfully, they do spit it out after reviewing the flavor, texture, and consistency. Unless it's really good. They probably just make that their lunchtime. Number 2, a chicken sexer. What a title, you know? What do you do for a living? I'm a chicken sexer. How do you bring that up to your in-laws? I'm not sure if my life is better knowing that the job of a chicken sexer actually exists, but for all the chicken that is consumed every day, it is really important. A chicken sexer's job is to distinguish the sex of a hatchling. Sounds okay so far, but it's how they do it that often gets really messy. The first version of this technique isn't so bad. Feather sexing is only done on broiler chickens that have a genetic mutation where female feathers grow faster, therefore they can kind of tell. But vent sexing is a little, you know, interesting. They have to hold a chicken a certain way and very gently squeeze the poop out so they can see the intestines. Then they can see the reproductive organs, which therefore determines the sex. This method was invented in the 1930s in Japan, and though effective, not the prettiest job. But hey, $60K a year, not bad. Number 1, last but not least, a sewer inspector. Number 1, here we go. I think this is pretty self-explanatory, so if you want to skip ahead to liking and commenting portion of this video, then I won't blame you. But in the words of yet again, the one, the only, Mike Rowe, aside from sloshing through a relentless chocolate tide, inspectors encounter a myriad of man-made products that shouldn't be flushed down the toilets, along with roaches the size of thumbs and rats the size of bread loaves. It's hot, dirty, and too smelly to describe. Unquote. God. No thank you, never gonna do that. I don't know if you could pay me enough, if I'm being honest. But you can make anywhere from 52 to 72 grand a year for this dirty job, and as you can probably guess, it is essential. It is a privilege to be able to flush away our problems. So to all those watching who may work as sewer inspectors or in the sewer industry, we salute you. And that was our top 10 list of worst jobs that you won't believe are real. Does anyone know anyone, or perhaps are you one of these workers? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to know your personal experience, as well as just a general thank you. Thank you for being the one to do it. Thank you to everyone out there who works so hard no matter what. Thanks for joining the Hive today, everyone. I've been your host, Raechel Fisher, and until next time, remember, be kind.